Are you looking for a powerful way to get your message in front of a highly engaged audience? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Stockdale with the Spin Market Report. Advertising on the Spin Market Podcast Network puts your business directly into the ears of our active listeners. Our podcasts have over 20,000 total streams in the last 12 months. That includes over 160,000 YouTube impressions and over 150,000 total views on YouTube combined. Whether you're promoting a product, service, or event, reach out to the Spin Market Podcast Network to find out how you can reach an actively engaged audience. So get heard today. Go to www.spinmarket.com to find out more information. Your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
Oh, yeah, we're back. It's the Spin Market Report. Marketing Monday.
Marketing Monday,
It's always Marketing Monday on the Spin Market Report. We're sitting down with Shelly Bottorff today. Shelly, you are the Executive Director of the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. So I got to know, let's start out with a great question right off the bat. What's the story behind the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association? How did it come to be? What's it all about?
Oh, man, we're getting right into it. Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We're glad to be here.
Thank you. So the story behind. I mean, Fort Dodge Fine Arts started in 1985.
Oh,
so
wow.
We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, which we are very excited about. And essentially for the first, 30 years, essentially, it was typewritten on a typewriter paper calendar that was
handed out.
That was mailed out once a year. Mm-hmm. So it was like, if you don't know everything that's going on
wow.
at the date of typing, your event was not going to be on that calendar. So it was a paper calendar once a year. And then they also hosted an Oak Hill Park Art Festival. Also, which is the area by the Blandon and Smeltzer House. That's the Oak Hill Park District.
And then now the Blandons really kind of taken that over and
yes,
done it
but
themselves.
as they should.
Yes.
As they should.
It
And
should be
they're
way.
doing an amazing job with that. So yeah, that was kind of the premise. And then about 10 years ago, I need to get my timeline right before I do these. But approximately 10 years ago, Amy Bruno, my sister Susan Allers-Lehman, and Steve Kirsten were just kind of like, what's happening with Fort Dodge Fine Arts? What is Fort Dodge Fine Arts? How can we revive it? How can we make it, how can we build membership? How can we build support? There was just so many things that goes on in Fort Dodge all the time, every year, every month, every week, every weekend. And we just felt like it was time to revamp that and change the mission and change the focus and the goals for the organization. And so those three wrangled me in. I've lived in Fort Dodge about 18 years now, lived and worked in Fort Dodge. And so people had started to become familiar with my background in music and theater and teaching and education and all of those aspects. So they wrangled me in, and we created a new, more active board of directors. And as the old board members kind of started phasing out, we added some additions to the board as that as well. And then we just kind of took it off and started running.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like it's changed and evolved a lot, especially in like the last 10 years or so. You're talking manually typing onto a paper calendar.
I mean, imagine how many they sent out.
And how long that would have taken.
Were there 9 or were there like 90?
I don't, I don't know. And like, how does somebody know they're going to have an event, next November already,
Right. Unless it's one of those annual like comedias shows.
Oh, yeah.
They know every year when that's going to take place. Celebration wasn't a thing in 85, but it would have been events like that that were happening annually.
Like Hawkeye 2 and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
But God forbid you change your date.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have to start typing all
yes,
over
because
again.
that calendar is now null and void at that point.
Wow,
but it was like Ardella Hine, Martha Bice was another one of the founders. John Zuer was another one of the founders who's still around in our community. So, yeah, we had some good heart and soul behind this organization before we came in and just started to change the focus a little bit.
Yeah, all right. So let's talk a little bit how the focus has changed, because we talked Blandon, we kind of talked theater groups that are in Fort Dodge. You might have mentioned music earlier, but like what kind of programs or initiatives do you support? Like what are you trying to push out there? Obviously art, but what is art?
Okay, wait.
What isn't art? What isn't art?
I don't have a prepared definition for what is art, but for us, it's anything that has an impact creatively. I'm not going to say necessarily for the community as a whole, but for their niche or genre of art. We think it can be an author. It can be a painter. It could be a photographer. It could be a brewmaster. It could be a winemaker.
I remember you talking
chef.
Culinary. Yeah, that was something I remember you talking to me once. I was like, I never thought about that. I guess
Yeah.
it could very well be art.
Do you
it
not
is art.
watch Top Chef?
Exactly.
They talk about textures and colors on the plates. So
I'm
yeah.
more of a Great British Bake Off guy myself.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Exactly. So he's got the accent and everything to go along with it.
You do not want to hear my British accent.
Kind of do. But yeah, so it's very broad from our perspective as far as what is art.
I know that's a great way to support though, because I mean it gives you a lot of different avenues to kind of explore and help out with for sure.
Well, and to take that another level, I don't think people always relate all of those different things to what art is. Their idea of art is a picture on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or going to a museum. That's
yes.
that's the only place where the art is.
Yes.
Is in the museum. But when I speak to youth groups, I often talk to them about, maybe not all of them are interested in the arts per se, or so they don't think. But it's like, how many of you are driving in your car, you're riding with your parents and you're listening to music? You're watching a football game. Well, somebody thought about those team colors at some point. Somebody thought about the pep band and what songs they're going to play.
What the cheerleaders are going to do.
What the cheerleaders are going to do. So yeah, when they start breaking it down like that and thinking about it, they're like, oh, I guess I do like art.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that always got to me with that was like woodworking. I remember the first time I ever did anything with wood, it's like, well, I can nail some wood together, but it really doesn't look that nice. And then you're like, you have a new appreciation for finishing, architects that it's like, oh, these people are actually doing really fine work here. And it's not, you just think it's easy. It's not easy.
Right. Well, and marketing itself is creative, right? With
Yes,
the images,
very creative.
with logos, it's I venture to guess that any profession we could find some sort of artistic creativity for.
Probably, honestly. So can you share?
If it's a growing business. Then it's being it has to have some creativity.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have to be able to stand out over their competition.
And keep up
and
with
keep
the
up.
times.
Yeah.
For
otherwise,
sure.
you're just kind of coasting
That's
along
right.
with what worked before, which isn't bad. But if you want to grow, you kind of
That's
got to
right.
change a little bit with the times.
Yes.
How about sharing some examples of how the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association supports artists, organizations, and things like that? We've already mentioned a couple of these, but can you go down some of your more important ones or some of the bigger, more...
Let me get my scroll out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that would be awesome if you came in with one of those.
So this is a list that we send with our donor letter every year. And it's like, what have we been doing in the last 10 years?
There's like 30 lines of stuff on there.
A lot. We've been doing a lot. One of the things that we implemented in this kind of resurgence of the Fort Dodge Fine Arts was featuring a Shining Star student every month. So we've been doing that. This is our 9th year doing that. So 9 times 12, that many students.
108.
And thank you.
Did somebody roast me in the comments if I'm wrong?
Yeah. Can we get a fact check on that? But that student can be in any grade from K through college, any outlet or genre of the arts. They get a little feature on social media and in the Twist and Shout and Fort Dodge Living. And we do the same thing. It's called an artist spotlight, where it's a professional in the industry as well. So awareness, just trying to find different ways to create awareness. We created a youth advisory council, which is kind of a leadership program.
Oh, cool.
For high school students. We will be entering our 6th year of that. We've done murals. Right now we're working on free little art galleries. So it's kind of the premise of the free little libraries where there are books that people can take. But these will consist of little supplies or little miniature art pieces that people can swap out, or think of it as like scrapbook type art, I guess. So we're going to have 3 of those around town. Of course, the Phillips Auditorium Restoration Project has been a huge thing for
place is
for our
cool.
organization. It is cool. And we could do a whole episode just on that project. But that's been something that we're really proud of, and the community is really behind us and supporting, which we appreciate. We couldn't do any of what we do without the community support. We do a lot of like revolving art shows with Shiny Top every 3 months. Their artwork changes. We do the same thing at Brookstone Inn. We've done that at Soldier Creek Winery in the past. We're looking at a medical clinic in Webster City that we'll be adding to that
cool.
rotation as well. So we're excited about that. I mean,
So this,
author signings, whatever gaps in the community are not already filled, but there's a need, that's where we try to focus.
so this extends, you said Webster City. This extends beyond just Fort Dodge then. This
Yeah.
is beyond Webster County even if you're going into Webster City.
I mean, somewhat. Yeah. I mean, a lot of Webster City people come to Fort Dodge for the entertainment. Same with Humboldt, Gowrie. You know, those
It's the region.
It's the region.
Yes.
Yeah. Primarily Fort Dodge, obviously, but it just helps to kind of cross promote those programs as well.
Well, when you were talking about Shiny Top and rotating things around, remember when we started doing leadership?
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're one of their sessions is art, and they would go to the Blandon and do some type of an art, and then we'd take that and hang them at the Shiny Top so that everybody could see what the students did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and Shiny Top has really been a huge supporter of any of our crazy wackadoo ideas that we want to try. We find that they're a great place for us to start.
You guys are just in the same flow all the time.
I think so. Well, and Nate at Shiny Top is our vice president of Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association as well. So we appreciate that. And the fact that the Greater Growth Alliance included an art aspect to their leadership program shows that there are other organizations that are valuing what's going on in our community as well. Visit Fort Dodge, same thing.
Yeah. You had mentioned the Student Arts Council. That's kind of like their like junior leadership, but it's like for art almost. That's just really kind of cool.
Yep. So they apply, they fill out an application, and
neat.
have to commit to all the meetings. And we have officers, and we try to run it like a regular board meeting would run, with motions and
fun.
Agenda and all those things. Another partnership that I really enjoy is with the Reforge Initiative.
Oh yeah.
Which is with the Brutal Republic players and their friends and extended outreach.
Yeah, they've got a board, don't they?
They do have a board. They are under the Fort Dodge Fine Arts umbrella as far as the 501c3 goes. So they do all the hard work. They do all the legwork to raise the funds. They select the recipients, but we help manage the money, keep in contact with the schools, do follow-ups with the students, after. What are you doing now? So that's been something really fun too.
Absolutely.
And I could go on and on.
I mean, there's a lot more left on that sheet.
I know. It's exciting.
So why is supporting art important, especially in a community like Fort Dodge? What is the appeal of it? What is, it makes me think about, like, is there social impact, economic impact? Like, where does that all fit into how Fort Dodge functions?
Well, I want to quote, excuse me, I want to not quote, but refer to a study that was just done. It's called Create Iowa. It was a report that was recently done. It's a case that studies the Iowa's creative sector. And it's the people that took this survey and contributed to the report were artists, nonprofit arts, and cultural organizations and businesses. And these things are a total add-on to not only the Fort Dodge, but the state's economic driver, for sure. And social and educational, and arts makes you a better person. It makes your well-being better. It makes your quality of life better. And the ripple effect of all of these nonprofit organizations and their audiences generate, I think it was $705 million a year in the state of Iowa.
I could see that for sure. I mean, it makes me think about how many times I travel from Humboldt to Fort Dodge just to watch shows, and I end up eating here or getting gas here or something.
Hotels,
shopping,
any of that. And I think, and the study referred to as well, your younger people want to stay in a community that has things to offer, right? So I think that it helps with the growth of your community, especially in a rural place like Fort Dodge.
Yeah, it also makes everything look nice when there's art out there. It makes me think of the Public Arts Council. I mean, that's like the silos and things like that around town. I think I've heard rumblings they're going to maybe think about doing some other stuff with some other things in town and kind of working some more art into town.
And Fort Dodge Fine Arts has a place at that table as well.
Awesome.
And that's a fairly new organization, the Public Art Commission. I think this is like year 5, maybe.
Something like that.
So it's fairly new. But again, the fact that the city is allotting this little token, of finances to projects like that is really an amazing thing for Fort Dodge. And I don't know how much of the tea I can spill on that, but my hope is that we get a sculpture park
That'd be neat.
in Fort Dodge, and I know there's several others that are working on that.
Yeah.
Well, and at the Blandon, which of course, I don't know, when was that, the 1930s or somewhere when that was built?
I think you're right.
Some in that time. But people don't realize the art that's in that building.
Right.
Andy Warhol.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton.
It's just an example of what kind of art is in there that you would never have expected in.
I also think that the Blandon was one of the first municipal museums in the state as well, at least this side of the river. So that's a pretty big deal too. And also the Carl King Band, that's a municipal band as well. It's really awesome and energizing to have all of these leading organizations in our community behind it.
That's so cool, municipal band. I mean, do you think like municipal water, or municipal electric, or
pool,
municipal band?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, uniforms, they get paid. I don't know if they get mileage, some of that. It's not a ton.
Yeah.
They don't do it for the money.
Yeah.
But it is a way that the community shows support to them for their time.
Yes.
Do you have like a moment that really stands out that reflects maybe the impact Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association has had on the area? I'm sure there's a lot of them you can kind of point to. I mean, obviously, it's just something that you guys were a part of, but the silos are like a big thing. People driving into town, they always see the silos. It's not necessarily your direct involvement, but you guys, like you said, had a place at the table with the organization that kind of helped spearhead that. But are there any things that you can say like, yeah, we did good here, and we did good, and you can see it?
No.
Or organizing the community calendar?
I was just going to say, yes. I think what I've seen in about 10 years that I've been involved in this is more support within the members of the organization. So our membership is up. I think there were maybe 3 members for 20 years, and it was probably the Carl King Band and the Blandon, and I don't know, the Choral Society was another one that was a longtime member. But I think creating an atmosphere where there can be an open dialogue between these all different groups and kind of being that mediator, or the cohesiveness, I guess, not mediator, of those groups has been something that we've really worked hard on. And you alluded to the calendar. And that's a huge thing. I mean, I remember looking, and you've heard this a million times, I think, Peter, but I remember looking at the calendar one time a few years ago, and I was like, why this weekend is the college musical and one of the high school musicals, and then 2 of our theater group musical or plays.
Yeah.
Like, why were there 4 theater productions in one weekend all happening at the same time? Well, we didn't have all of the calendars that we have now. And so that's a huge thing with their membership, not only promoting their events that they're having, but getting them on the calendar right away. So when you're booking something, you can look at that and be like, okay, Celebration is that weekend. We probably want to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Or we want to bring a new musical to town. Let's not do it on the weekend that Comedia does theirs every year. So I think just opening that discussion, we used to do, prior to COVID, we did a third Thursday. And that was always fun too, because we do it at different members' locations or different businesses would host us. And it was people from all areas of the arts that would get together and share what they're doing and network and talk about those things. So I think just that open dialogue and having a place to go to is what I see the most.
Yeah, I always try and tell people, like, you guys are, you use the word, like, what is it, mediary, or like, you guys are just the people between all of the stuff happening, like the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association.
The glue.
Exactly.
We hope to be. I think that's something, we're constantly training our people please submit your events. Please just make that part of your routine. You know, sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Get it in, because that's the best way. And I've used this example before too, when you're booking live music. You know, we help a lot of our members book their regular live music as well. And so when you're looking 3 months down the line, let's look and see who's playing that week that we're looking at. And maybe we don't want to book the same musician that's playing 2 other nights that week somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of helps spread out the audience, I think, a little bit too.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, not that people wouldn't attend, because Fort Dodge has some of the best attendance for like all music, regardless of where you're playing at any of the 7, 8, 9, 10 places in town that have music. But like, maybe you don't want musician A Friday, Saturday, Sunday at this, you know, just in Fort Dodge, you know, spread it around a little bit.
Well, and everybody has the places that they like to go, but still splitting the audience is not always a great great thing either.
I mean, that'd be like the theater. I want to see theater here, but I also want to see it here. Well, I can't go 2 places at once.
Right.
Now you're splitting your audience. Okay.
Right. And a statistic, and you probably remember this. How many art and culture events are there in Fort Dodge every month?
About 3 or 4. No, there's 60.
Yes.
60,
on average, there are 60 art and culture events in Fort Dodge.
That's wild. That's crazy. That's a lot of events, a lot of arts, a lot of culture in this town. And I'll tell you what, not every town is like this.
No. Well, Josh Barlage, he's the conductor for the Fort Dodge Area Symphony. And he's like, he drives up here from Des Moines for rehearsals and the concerts, and he loves Fort Dodge. He always takes a picture by the mural or the silo, because it looks a little different year after year with the color change. But, you know, he's just, for example, he's one that is just always bragging about Fort Dodge and everything that we have to offer. And, you know, if people really sat down and think about it, they'd be like, we are kind of a hub for the arts in our area.
So we had talked a little bit about the Student Arts Council. Can you talk about other ways that the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association supports youth and education through the arts? Is it just at the schools? Is it the high schools, the elementary schools? Is it the college in town? Do you have any influence at the college that you guys do there? Or?
Of course, yes. So we partnered with the college 7 years ago.
Iowa Central,
cool. Yes. And so one of the things that we do with, well, let's say like the photography department. So for example, there are other areas that we help as well, but I try to give these students portfolio building opportunities while they're a student here. They're only here for 2 years. Yeah. So it's like, we got to get them in and get them indoctrinated into the community and let them see what Fort Dodge really is about.
Well, that's the first thing we ask. If when somebody comes and applies for graphic design or anything that we hear, what's your portfolio?
Right.
That's because that's their resume.
Yes, it is their resume. And some of our organizations really can use that help. Right now, we have a student out there that is helping the symphony. They're helping them revamp their website and take new photos for content and things like that. And so that's been a really good partnership. We've often set up just a random craft activity at Fort Frenzy for a weekend. We'll do like painted pumpkins or paint some little canvases that will later turn into a bigger mural that we'll put in Fort Dodge. So we've done that at the winery as well. That's been a fun way to get kids engaged and then also let them be like, what is this? Yeah. Well, we're the Fort Dodge Fine Arts. You know, I don't even know what that is, but at least now you've heard the name. APHIS.
Ah, yes.
That was a really fun youth partnership, and that included Iowa Central as well, their TV and broadcasting. The students, I think I met with them like 3 days a week after school, and the students there wanted to make a movie. And so they wrote their own script. We had the help of Mike Shootman, who's an amazing creative mind here in our community, turned their kind of script into an actual script with camera shot ideas and things like that.
Cool.
And he just really laid it all out for them. We had auditions for the roles. We had different table readings to work out the dialogue. They got to think about their costumes. What locations in town do we want to film? And we spent an entire school year working on this project. And then we had a red carpet event at the movie theater here.
That was huge.
That was huge. I so want to do that again. I just think that was so fun. Those kids got out of school. We took them to Hardee's.
On the red carpet.
Yep, we took them to Hardee's for lunch before, and they all had burgers and ice cream, and then they got to walk the red carpet, and Rochelle Green and her students had taken headshots of all the actors, so they had their pictures along the red carpet and invited the community to come. I think it was just for a free will donation or something like that. The students got popcorn, and then the first time they ever saw that movie was on the big screen at the movie theater once all the final edits had been made.
That's fun.
And I didn't even watch the movie. I was just watching the kids watch the movie. The whole movie was like,
wasn't very long.
it was
at
like
all.
11 minutes long
exactly.
or something, but
Yeah.
it took forever to get all the pieces work together, especially when you're only seeing them a few minutes every week.
Yeah.
But that's still on YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to say that's on your channel, on the Fort Dodge Fine Arts channel, right?
It is on the Fort Dodge Fine Arts YouTube
Make sure
channel.
that we
Yeah, I'll put a link
put
down below.
for that.
Subscribe, listen,
Yes.
check us out.
Yes.
Good.
It is called,
Good job.
Yeah, good job.
I'm learning. It is called Too Late. That was the name of the movie.
Ah, yes. I remember seeing that on your channel. That's cool. That's
Maybe
really
we
fun.
need a sequel.
Ah,
Coming soon. Too late. Now it's coming soon.
I love that, actually. That's really good.
gold.
Not yet.
So can you tell us a little bit about maybe some partner organizations? We mentioned that you guys are involved with, like the Public Arts Council or Public Arts Commission in some
commission.
in some capacities. Are there any other public organizations you guys help out with, or that you're involved with, or that you kind of interact with?
I mean, I think I've really mentioned a lot of them between St. Ed, Senior High, Iowa Central, obviously, the Growth Alliance a lot. Jill and I work on a lot of projects together, and with Leadership Fort Dodge, that's an annual thing now.
And junior leadership.
Junior,
Well,
both.
both.
Yeah, both. I forget about that one because it's still new. And then all of our members. We try to partner in some way with all of our members. So the Blandon, we help book the live music and help to gather artists for the art festival for that. And then just continuing to try to provide opportunities for our visual and performing arts here in Fort Dodge. So, I mean, I could really go on and on. I could go down every single one of our members and be like, we do this and we do this and we do this. But again, the needs are different between each member and each organization. And I personally feel very strongly about not stepping on anyone's toes.
Yeah.
My sister and I created a theater group here in town called Stage Door Productions. And we didn't want to do something that somebody else was already doing, but there was definitely this hole in the community. Hawkeye Theater does 6 productions a year. 5 of them are straight plays. The 6th one, their Christmas show, it has some music and involves youth, but it's a very short, I think they practice 6 weeks or something. It's a very short time span. And not all the kids are available during the school year to do that. Comedia does one huge show a year. This year it's Something Rotten. If you don't know that show, look it up because it's hilarious. But they do their huge, large-scale show every year, and it may or may not involve kids. So there really wasn't anything, well, and even the schools. Senior High does a small musical in middle school and then a big show in high school. St. Ed's does a big show in high school. So you think of those kids, what if they were in football and never touched a football until they were in 9th grade?
Oh, yeah.
What if you never swung a baseball bat until you were in 9th grade?
You wouldn't be any good at it
No, you'd be terrible.
when it finally came time to do it.
You'd be I mean, even soccer, you know how 5-year-olds all play soccer. They just all run around the field. Well, think if they're like 14 and doing that.
And they're still doing
And
that.
they're still doing that. So that's just one example. But I do feel very strongly about creating new opportunities and filling those gaps when it's brought to my attention that we have a gap.
Yeah.
I'm not always aware until someone's like, you know what? We don't have this.
Yeah.
Let's create it.
I mean,
That's my favorite thing.
That makes sense too, because you said you kind of tailor this to the needs of every single one of your members. It's kind of nice knowing you're not just like, well, we have these things to offer. It's a cookie cutter, and you get what everybody else gets, and too bad.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that we did, and I think about creative ways to bring this back, but I'd say 8 years ago-ish, we did Praise Fest. Do you remember where Blues Under the Trees was held by the racetrack?
Yeah.
And I love that space. I love the stage. I love the coverage of the trees. I just think it's a really beautiful, unique kind of venue for Fort Dodge. And once Blues Under the Trees disbanded, there wasn't anything happening out there as far as I was aware, art and culturally. So
I did play a show out there maybe 2 years ago.
did you?
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't recall.
Oh, it was so good.
It was, yeah, it was so memorable.
Well, it was packed. We were the opening band for another band, but yeah. It was,
Okay, well, that's amazing. I love that space
but
is
again,
being used.
I didn't know. I don't remember what it was for though, because I don't think it was an annual event, if I'm mistaken.
A one-off, just let's do this. So I play piano, and I often play in the various churches in our community. And I'm playing with all these praise bands, and I'm like, well, man, if you don't go to this church, you never get to experience how great this praise band is.
Some church bands are awesome.
They are. Well, you got Gabrielle Alves, who's
yes.
ripping things up. Can you say that about a church service?
Yeah.
But at First Pres.
That's exactly what he does.
You got Dean Davis
Yes.
out at First Covenant. And at the time, Anna Cummings was at New Covenant. And Brady O'Brien, he was another person that participated in this. We had 5 different churches represented. So we had like a praise fest, and it was all featuring these church organizations, and it was a blast. It was just a blast. But, that was another thing where it was like, this is a crazy idea. Let's just try it and see what happens.
You never know. That's really cool.
And I need to mention that our board of directors is super supportive
They're
of
all
these
crazy.
They are all crazy in the best way.
Yes, exactly.
We always are like, gosh,
They're always open to a new idea and thought.
our meetings are really fun. We genuinely like each other, right? Guys.
Everybody, okay.
Yeah. Can we close down the comments after that? But I genuinely like them anyway. And they're very supportive and always willing to help out. And we are not just a board that meets once a month. They are a working board of directors. They're helping at the bar at Phillips. They're helping clean up garbage after events and things like that.
Yeah,
So
some of these people are business owners in town that actually have their own businesses, and they're donating their time to you.
Or a judge.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve Kirsten.
Yeah. He's a very busy person.
Yeah.
I've seen him popping around on some podcasts and things like, in the last year or
Yeah,
so.
he's making the rounds.
Yeah, he's
a popular guy.
Good dude. Yeah, for sure.
Megan Secor, the winery, that keeps her and city council, that keeps her insanely busy.
Yeah.
But she makes time for us, and
Still making time for art, because art is important.
art is important.
So I had a question here. What are some major events and annual programs that you guys are involved in? You can run down some big ones if you'd like to, but I am going to say community calendar. That's where you can find all the events. So are there any really, really big events that are at the annual events you guys are like, every year, this is the big one, or this is a couple of them?
No, I'm not going to say just one or two, because there's way more than that.
Okay.
There's way more than that.
Community calendar.
The community calendar. You're just going to have to check it out.
It's on your website. The website's down below. Click the link, and it's just right up in the corner. Calendar.
Yep,
Right
and we're on social media as far as posting things that are coming up weekly. We're also on the radio. I'm on with Jay Black.
Cool.
Every Wednesday morning. Well, we pre-record, but it airs every Wednesday morning.
this is live. No, I'm just kidding.
I love pre-recorded. And that's actually sponsored by Shiny Top, and they allow us to use that airtime to promote all the things our members have going on. So no, I can't pinpoint to one thing. One thing that the Fort Dodge Fine Arts solely does annually that we have really enjoyed and has become a super fun fundraiser. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Poorly drawn portraits.
The poorly drawn portraits.
The funniest thing ever.
They are. And people just seem to really enjoy them so much. So we do this at Christmas time every year.
Yeah.
And you can submit a photo, and it's like, I don't know, $20, $25. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's not much.
It's not much.
No.
And it's kind of a gamble. You may get a really talented artist in town. We've had Jennifer Dutcher be a part of this, and she is by no means a poorly drawn artist.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
She's amazing. And other amazing, Jolene Hayes, she's really good at drawing pets. We get a lot of pet submissions.
That's actually pretty fun. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
You'd bring in a pet. Okay. So So people bring in pictures and have somebody.
They email me a picture. We set our board. It's all of our board members that have to draw something.
That's even better. It's not just random people.
Steve Kirsten will draw something. Bill Griffel from the Smelter House. He's also one of our artists.
Nate McCubbin drawing.
Nate McCubbin does amazing poorly drawn portraits.
Put that end part in there.
Yeah.
It's poorly drawn.
I mean, and we just have a ton of fun doing it, and we make a little bit of money, and it gives you something in return to talk about and laugh with your families.
So has anybody told you exactly where they hung that portrait up later?
I have gotten pictures of where they have
really?
them. Yep.
Good.
There's a mantle that every year they gift their family members a new updated poorly drawn portrait. So they swap out the photo each year. It's like their school pictures, but they're poorly drawn portraits.
I think I saw something about that. Somebody was like, they just buy one every year of like the same family members, and they're just trying to see like, well, maybe this year we'll get a good one, or maybe and that's the fun part about the gift is as they give it, there's like the person doesn't know if they're going to get a crazy good one.
Right.
Or
They're like, I didn't know my right hand was much larger than my entire body.
Oh, no.
It's perspective, people. It's perspective.
That's so fun.
But it is fun. So that's an annual thing, and people can look forward to that coming up again later this year.
Yeah, what time of the year is that? Is that kind of like Thanksgiving-ish
We
or
start
fall?
we start advertising for it around Thanksgiving, maybe a little bit before. Actually, we give them about a month to get their pictures in, and then we close it off a week before Christmas, and then that's when we just do a crash drawing.
You guys lock yourselves in a room and have a good time?
Yep, we do. We do. And we just, there's a lot of tears from laughter when we get done with these. Paul Hockmuth from Reman's created his first poorly drawn portrait this last year for someone. So that was a real treat, too.
Tell us who.
I won't tell you who.
Oh, no.
Actually, I can, because I think he drew one of Cameron Nelson's.
Oh, no.
Oh, nice.
And so it was perfect.
How could you draw a picture of Cameron Nelson? It would be just beard and hair. That's all there is.
We love you, Cameron.
We do. Well, it was him and his son. So we
Oh,
took a
I'm
lot
sorry.
of time on
Okay,
his son.
son.
And then it was like, oh, they'll never see.
Then there's this other guy in there.
This guy has a watch on, so does Cameron. They look the same.
Yeah. So it takes a lot to like promote and plan all these events. I mean, we could go into it further, but I feel like we've talked a lot about how it's an all year event to kind of just make this calendar every single month, and it's an all year event to plan all these things and to keep tabs on who's doing what and when they're doing it, and making sure you don't, like I said, step on toes. Did this musical group do this musical last year? Maybe you shouldn't do it this year because somebody probably saw it last year or something, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people just don't think about when it comes to events and planning all of this in town. Fort Dodge is by no means a huge city, but it's by no means a small town at all either. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me down. I'm just going to skip past that question because we did kind of talk about a lot of the things that are going on in this town and how much work it actually is. But
yeah, it's the promotion. I do want to mention, because there's always someone that's like, I didn't know that was happening. And that, if you want me to feel like there's fingernails on a chalkboard, say that to me, or just text me that. There's nothing to do in Fort Dodge, or I didn't know this was happening, because we really try between social media, our website, the radio, word of mouth. Even we are still doing paper posters around town, buying ads in the Twist and Shout, doing podcasts, just really trying to get the word out there. And I don't know the secret to what it is where you just know that you're reaching everybody.
paid promotion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the only thing I could say is paid promotion.
I know, but if you have someone that says, well, I don't get the paper, I don't listen to the radio, I'm not on social media.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do we need to flyer cars at Fairway? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I just, it bums me out that there's still people that don't know.
Well, you go back 10, 20 years, you go to an event, there used to just be flyers all over all the cars, especially in big cities, and now there's not, and I kind of miss it, because it's just like,
Right?
well, how am I supposed to know what's going to be here next week, or like,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a renegade way to promote something, but it did actually kind of help if they did it correctly,
It's true. It's true. And we used to do a monthly, sometimes weekly newsletter, and we haven't been as regular about that lately, and a lot of that's because it's as soon as I hit send, it's
something
changed.
else came up.
It's changed, and then I feel really guilty about who we've left out and who, because you're managing a lot of organizations, you're managing a lot of people and trying to keep that line of communication open. But, people are busy.
There is a way to do that every time you update it.
It's just automatically for them too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I do that in some sense, but that was one of our biggest challenges. It just got to be a little frustrating. Yeah. But as far as like, here's Fort Dodge Fine Arts. Here's where you can find us. Help us help you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's right downtown. There is actually a building downtown.
There is actually a building.
You're not just like a group that meets, under the cover of darkness somewhere. You have a building. And,
yeah.
Oh, you have two. You have the auditorium now, too.
We do. And it's by appointment preferred at the office downtown. But that was something that my sister and Steve and Amy Bruno felt very strongly about. For us to be a credible organization, we need to have a table where we can have a meeting. We need to have a printer.
Oh, yeah, true.
We need to have Wi-Fi that's reliable, and we need to step this up a little bit. Yeah. So it's been a great place for me.
So as we're talking about how things have changed, getting a building downtown and how it's evolved over the years, what about the podcast? You guys have a podcast. What inspired the podcast?
You have a podcast.
Why did you start a podcast?
So
because it's the coolest thing ever.
It is the coolest thing ever.
It's the coolest thing ever.
Look at us.
Yes.
But, yours, Peter, was probably the first one that I started watching somewhat regularly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, this is cool. This is pretty cool. And then it kind of went to the back of my brain for a little bit and went about my life. And then I'm always thinking of what is something that we can invest in, whether it's financially or just
time,
that would continue to benefit our members. And then now I'm at this point where it's like, okay, now we need to be moving forward. Also, we need to be progressive. We need to keep up, as we were mentioning earlier. And it just seemed like the perfect fit. I wanted something that would provide our members not only some extra awareness of what they have going on. Sure, when we talked to the theater people, we were also promoting Hawkeye Theater's show, but it wasn't just about that one show. Mm-mm. It was about the history of the organization. It was about the people that we were interviewing that are also long-timers in these organizations, and hearing their stories and hearing from them, like, why should we care about what you're doing, essentially?
Yeah.
And providing them with an archive that down the line they can continue to share and continue to refer to. I just sent them per some of your guidance. I've started going back and sending those podcasts back to our previous guests, so that I could be like, I know you have this show coming up, but share this video anyway. And here's some verbiage that you can use to promote your next show. Yeah. But just awareness. Yeah. Advocacy and awareness.
I know that was something that me and Cheryl had talked about with podcasts, was like, a lot of companies do actually have newsletters. Mm-hmm. Why not throw it in the newsletter? And especially if something happens, you've got this archive of stuff. It's like, this thing happened. Do you remember last year when we talked to this person?
Right.
And they can kind of join everything right back together. And why not? It's so easy to just click a podcast and listen to it. Everybody listens to them now. It used to be 10 years ago, everyone's like, what's a podcast? But now everybody listens to them.
They do. People are, it's like sitcoms now.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's like no sitcoms anymore. They're all replaced by podcasts.
They are.
And this will be a sitcom to remember.
This one, I hope so. But I just also selfishly really enjoy these people.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to sit down with them and like take a minute and try to make them feel comfortable and let's talk about something embarrassing that happened to you. And let's talk, just it's kind of a low key. If they want to have a beer, they can have a beer during the podcast, whatever, just kind of a low key conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, you could promote things they've got going on. It also kind of gives them a chance to put it in their hands. Like, here's this platform. What would you like to do with it? And, sometimes people take the ball and run with it, and sometimes people are a little skittish at first, but by the time an hour goes by, they're They're right in it, you know?
Well, I'm going to make fun of Gina Batcher because that last one, you could tell in the beginning, she was like sitting on her hands and, Shelly made me do this. I could just see on her face. She's like, Shelly made me do this. Ugh. And then by the end, she really loosened up and just felt a lot more at ease sharing. But yeah, it's been really fun.
So how do you decide who you're going to feature as guests? Is it just, you just kind of go down to like who's the most active or who's got something coming out next month? Or do you just kind of try and tie it in with something kind of event wise?
So far, I've tried to tie it in time wise with something that's going on for them or that's coming up soon for them.
So this isn't something where
when it comes out.
This isn't just something you call somebody and say, meet us here on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
We're recording.
No, I think about it way more than that.
Okay, good.
I think about it like what time of year would make sense for this group, and who within that group seemingly would be the most comfortable in this situation.
Bingo.
Because that's a huge thing too. I don't want to be pulling teeth, and I'm sure you guys have had to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear with who in a few seconds. But you want someone that you have energy with and relationship with and won't be afraid to brag up what they're doing.
Bingo. That's something that's come up on Talk for Dodge before, is like people are kind of scared to brag about stuff because that's kind of how we're wired in the Midwest, is not to brag about it.
It's
but
true.
in all honesty, there's a lot of cool stuff going on, and why not brag a little bit about it?
That's something I tell the junior leadership for the Growth Alliance every year. I'm like, no one is a bigger advocate for yourself than you can be. And no one knows your skill set better than you do. Oh. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And don't use the word brag. It's just sharing what you have to offer.
Your talent.
And don't be afraid to share that.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Podcasting 101 with Shelly Bottorff.
Thank you. I also brought a PowerPoint.
Yes. We'll put it on the TV behind you here in just a second. So what role has podcasting played? Has it extended your reach? Has it made your organization, has it got more views on your organization, or has it helped out any of the people that you've had as guests?
For sure. For us, obviously our subscriber list goes up with every one. The viewership goes up, especially through Spotify and Apple Music and all of the outlets that we are now on. There's a lot more opportunities for some of these organizations that maybe aren't regular social media postees.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it gives them something that they can refer to. Yeah, I mean, we're still kind of new.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a while.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
We just finished 8 just came out. So we're getting ready to do number 9 in June. So we're still, it's not like we did number 1 and everybody was like, oh, now there's a podcast. We gotta train them still within this first year to use that as a resource. So, but myself and the board of directors are very happy with the numbers and just what we're able to continue to provide to our members without an additional cost to our members.
Yes.
So
before we put a bookend on your podcast, let's do a little plug. What's the name? When does it come out? Where can people find it? You already kind of mentioned where people can find it. But
so it's FDT, Fort Dodge T, Thoughtful Exchange About the Arts is kind of where we got that. And it's on YouTube, of course, on our Fort Dodge Fine Arts channel. Share it on social media all the time. Spotify, Apple Music. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically anywhere because that's podcast. I mean, those are the big ones. That's where all of ours are.
Yeah.
Same deal, but you can find them. I mean, there's weird stuff like Tidal and all this other stuff that people listen to them on sometimes too.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But it shows up online. That's
you'd
all
be
that
surprised
matters.
how many people, like, what was when I randomly pushed like Amazon Prime link for no reason on one of our podcasts, and then all of a sudden it had like 20 views on Amazon Prime, and it's like, whoa, cool. I guess it works. So like people are telling their Alexas to listen to our podcast, and it actually worked. I mean, it wasn't like huge numbers, but it's fun to know that like you can just push it out there, and people are like,
oh, for sure.
I can just lean over to this thing in the corner and tell it to do this thing, and it'll just play
It'll
it.
just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I worked on a logo for this, but I have an Iowa Central student that felt really strongly about revamping that. So he's actually working on a hand-painted type logo that we can scan to use for that. And he came to me about that. I'm like,
Cool.
yes, show me
building.
what you got. Yeah, portfolio building. Exactly.
That's super cool.
We're starting to blast stickers wherever is appropriate.
Yes.
So yeah, we're still getting our feet wet, but I'm excited about the energy that's being generated.
Absolutely. So now we've got the podcast talk done, and we've talked about what Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association is, what you guys do for the community, what you have coming up. on the community calendar. Podcast comes out every
First Friday of every month.
first Friday of every month.
Yep.
So let's go down to here. We're getting close to the end. What has been the most rewarding part for you about your involvement with the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association? What is something that you're the most proud of, or what's something that really kind of touched your heartstrings?
Oh, that's so hard.
I mean, how long have you say you were 10 plus years you've been?
10 plus years I've been the executive director of the Fort Dodge Fine Arts. And I'm just going to speak selfishly for this for a minute. I have never loved a job more than the job that I have right now. I just feel like this is what I was meant to do. Not only walk the walk and play the piano and do the things, but also support others that are doing that as well, and really feel good about it, and really feel passionate about it, and really care about what you're doing every single day. Like, who gets to say that?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So that's, for me, been definitely the most rewarding. I'm not getting rich off this. This isn't. I work for a nonprofit organization, but it's comfortable for me. I love the people of Fort Dodge. I love the art and culture scene here. I've made some really great friends doing this work, and I love it.
I think it's really cool to know that you can see the impact you've had, over the years, because we talked about how it's changed, in the last 10, 20 years, with more involvement, and it's just kind of cool to see. I can see your footprints everywhere around town. I think that's one of my favorite things about the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Your name might not be on the front and center of every single thing that's done, but you can see it down in the corner, and you know that you had a part in this. And that's right. I think it's one of my favorite things about it.
I want other people to succeed.
Yeah.
So whatever I can do to help with that in the art and culture scene.
Yes. Well, if somebody else wants to help, how can they help? Can they help monetarily? Can they volunteer their time?
Yes and yes.
If so, how do they get involved in this?
So people can always reach out to me directly through our social media or website or my email, fdfinearts@gmail.com. My email's on the front door of our office. I hope my phone number is not, but that might be also. But I can be reached easily. Ask anybody here at Spin Market and they can find me. We need volunteers, not only for the Fort Dodge Fine Arts and our Phillips project, but our members need volunteers as well, whether it's handing out programs or cleaning something up afterwards, or doing the stuff that once you've put on a 4-hour show, you don't have time or energy to want to do. Financially, yes, as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit, and the more we do, the more expensive our operating expenses are every year. But that's not our members' fault. So we don't want to, it's for a nonprofit to be a member of Fort Dodge Fine Arts, it's $150 a year.
Oh, that's like giving it away.
Right? I mean, think about how much you pay for an ad. And I pay for ads, so I'm not whatever. But when you look at how much you pay for an ad anymore in this day and age, or eggs, $150 is not that much for 12 months of the year. A for-profit entity pays $250 a year for a membership. And we really try our best to keep it at that rate. And it's been at that rate for several years. I mean, we did up it when we initially kind of started revamping, because now they were getting something in return, right? But yeah, that's donations, volunteering. You can make monetary donations on our website at fdfineartsassociation.org. You can throw a check in the mail, and our mailing address is the Community Foundation here in town as well, which is another really amazing partner. Randy and Joe are just so great to work with and make the headache of the things that I don't want, my brain doesn't always understand. They make it very easy for us.
Yeah, that's great. Again, that's, as you guys are helping out all these other organizations, you have organizations in town that are helping you out with some of the finer points as well.
People helping people.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Do you have any hopes for the future of Fort Dodge? Big dreams, or maybe things that Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association might be getting involved in the future that you can kind of tease a little bit? Or
there are a few things, but I feel like they're too new. It's not the time. But as far as hopes for the future, we continue to want to be a voice and an advocate for not only our members, but just the art and culture scene in our community for the long haul. You need somebody reminding the community why the arts are important. That's something I wake up knowing every single day. And then I assume, well, everybody else knows that too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I told you this once. Why don't you remember? And that's also been a challenge, like to remember, to continue to remind, to continue to educate why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing, why we have supporters, and why they're supporting us. So yeah, just that legwork. It's legwork to continue to do that, to see the arts successful.
So if you have any of these upcoming announcements that are going to be coming out, like, because you said you've got stuff, but you can't quite announce it yet.
It's not ready.
Yeah. The best places to find us, probably on your social medias, on your website,
Yep.
maybe your podcast.
Yep.
But all those links down below. That's
Great.
the best place to find everything. The website's right at the top. It's got basically everything right there on your website.
Yep.
If not, social medias are below it. Click on that. Click follow. Interact with Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association any way you need to. And
even an old-fashioned email.
yeah,
She does
answer emails.
I do answer emails.
That's how we got a hold of you.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And it's I have families that are like, we just moved to town. I got 4 kids, ages blah, 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 blah. What can we do with them to get them involved in the arts in Fort Dodge?
Yeah.
So that's a great way too. If you have an idea about something you'd like to see tried in Fort Dodge, I would love to help you brainstorm how possibly that could happen. So
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
good idea. Yeah. If you've got ideas, let's hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't just drop them in the comments. Drop them in Shelly's inbox.
yes, drop them in my inbox because
Put them in the comments that everybody else can see as well, and maybe jump
yeah.
on board.
Yeah, there
That
you go.
could be
you
too.
You never know.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have another nonprofit organization before we know it. I don't know what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be super successful.
It's going to be
so
called
fun.
the Podcast Nonprofit Organization.
That's not very catchy.
No, it's not. In a moment's notice, that was the best I could do. I'm sorry.
This has been an awesome podcast. I knew it was going to be a riot having Shelly in here. You've been on Talk Fort Dodge before. That was one of their most listened to episodes ever. Because you know what? Fort Dodge loves the arts, and that what you do here in town should not be undersold. So I want to say that. Thank you very much for doing what you do. I have one question left for you. Can you name a time in your life where marketing impacted you and you possibly didn't know about it until afterwards? This could be in your day-to-day life. This could be with the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association.
Oh.
It could be with one of your members. I try to think about, like, every time I come up to this question and ask it to somebody, something else kind of comes to my mind where it's like, you had mentioned it earlier, you just have to remind people that these things are there. And that's kind of what I feel about marketing is like, they're not trying to sell me something. They're telling me if you want this, it's here. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily they're trying to sell me this thing, and that's something I always forget about marketing in general.
Well, and marketing, the word marketing means so many different things in my brain as well. Personally, like my life outside of Fort Dodge Fine Arts is not even in the front of my brain right now. I'm thinking all things Fort Dodge Fine Arts. But I guess I don't know if this answers the question really or not, but when we first started our painted piano project,
Yes.
it was picked up on the AP.
Yeah.
I had no idea. All of a sudden, a few weeks later, I had all of these emails from people that were like, "Oh my gosh, my aunt in London saw this in online, and it was being advertised as a Save the Landfills project," and like it just kind of blew up into this thing. I'm like, "Yeah, yes, it was. It was a Save the." It was actually just I didn't have the heart to dump these pianos, so let's make them into art. But that wasn't really marketing. That was just more,
yes, it was.
What is that
Yes.
kind of what you're
Yes.
looking for? And there's been a lot of that, I guess, over the years. But that's the one that stands out.
Cool.
That was one of the most unexpected. Like,
Yeah, you started an
London?
initiative. Yeah, you started an initiative. You never know who's going to take hold of it and go with it too. That's really cool. I do remember the pianos around town. Are you going to do that again? Is that something you're going to do again?
it's
in the
all
future?
about timing. I probably get a call every week about somebody that has a piano that wants to get rid of. I'm not kidding. Probably every week to 10 days.
Well, back in the day, every house used to have a piano in it.
Well,
Like
and they're
every
massive
house.
pieces of furniture.
Yeah.
It's not a keyboard. You can just put it in a bag and stand upright in the closet or something.
Maybe that's what you should do next is the painted keyboard project.
The canvas on it would be so
Just
small.
so small.
But and that was another thing we kept running into is a lot of people have what are called spin-it pianos. And so they're very short, they're very flat, and then they have the two kind of pegs on the front. And there's just not a lot of canvas space on those, although those are the easiest to move. But if there was a business or organization that was like, we would like a painted piano here, then yes, we will hop on board. But we have 23 of them.
They're still around?
And we did, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where did we saw one somewhere not terribly long
One
ago.
of my favorites is at Old Boston.
That's where we saw
I
it.
love that one. That's one of my favorites.
City Hall has one.
Yep, and the one at City Hall is photographs from the inside of the Warden, which is
Cool.
fun. Shiny Top, of course, has one.
Airport.
Airport, the library.
Yes. Green
State.
Bank.
Wow.
or Credit
They're
Union.
still all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Iowa Central has one. Sports Page has one. 23. So
That's sweet. That's really cool. This has been really eye-opening, honestly. Like I've always kind of known you guys existed. I've interacted with you a little bit in the past. Like you had mentioned, I had a podcast and I kind of was just like, I don't know what to do with this. And I just kind of came to you. I was like, what do we do with this? You know, and I was like, I'll put some stickers in your office. And if somebody stops by, just give them, I don't know what to do, you know? So it was kind of nice to have you to reach out to though, to be like, oh, there's somebody that could possibly at least help or point and push me in the right direction. So
or cares.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I just got to say thank you for taking time out of your day. Cheryl, as we've been ending the podcast a little differently.
We have a treat.
Oh.
We ask you to rub Buster's head for good luck.
Oh, okay. I was
Going
going to say,
forward.
wait, why?
Why? But yeah, Buster is always good luck for everybody. So we just like you to rub his
love
head,
that.
and we wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
This was so fun.
This is really good. Thank you, Shelly.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep. Take care.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.